I want to thank my fellow AGs. We have 50 attorney generals from across the nation who are involved in this investigation that we're leading from Texas. While many consumers believe that the internet is free, certainly we know from Google's profits of $117 billion that the internet is not free. And this is a company that dominates all aspects of advertising on the internet and searching on the internet. This investigation is not a lawsuit. It is an investigation to determine the facts. And right now we're looking at advertising, but the facts will lead to where the facts lead. In a fair market, you shouldn't punish somebody for having a unique technology. But when you have companies that may be preventing other entrants into the market with unfair practices and dominating a market that then ultimately hurts consumers, because even though there's maybe not a direct cost to searching on the internet, if advertising costs are higher, who ends up paying that? The advertisers pay it. That's all passed on to consumers. This is really an independent, as Carl said, an independent action by the states. And we're not reacting to Congress. We're not trying to lead Congress. We're trying to do what we think is right for our consumers.
Today, 50 attorney generals from different states and territories are launching an investigation into Google's potential monopolistic behavior. Attorney generals really care about where the rubber meets the road, and that is for the residents of their states and consumers. We also care about businesses, especially small businesses, that may be locked out as a result of what may be monopolistic power. But we are acting as one today in regards to launching what I know will be a fair and full investigation that will follow, as Attorney General Paxton said, the facts. I mean, Google itself in its initial first years talked about it being the best search engine to find you what it is you're looking for and then let you loose on the internet. We know that over time that model has changed to where the search result invariably is laden with Google-related goods, services, and those who pay Google. It's a very different model than that model with which they began, and it certainly merits our scrutiny as it has merited the scrutiny of other sovereigns. So I'm very confident that this bipartisan group is going to be led by the facts and not be swayed by any conclusion, that may fall short, if you will, if it's inconsistent with our facts on the Fed side. So we're going to do what we think is right based on our investigation. The fact of the matter is that each and every one of our consumers, our citizens and the residents of our states do either have or yearn to have access to the internet, and therefore it's a proper place for a state attorney general to ensure that the landscape is fair and not unfairly manipulated in one company's direction.
Our unique location causes many of our businesses to be highly dependent upon the internet for advertising in order to reach lower 48 and international markets. And the anti-competitive activity of the nature that this bipartisan coalition of states and attorneys general will be investigating has the potential for driving up the cost of business for businesses in Alaska. And I'm very pleased about the bipartisan nature of this investigation and the broad base of states that are involved in it.
We like wide open spaces, but we like competition as well. We think $152 million in activity occurs just in my state alone coming from Google and the businesses it touches. But we want it to be fair. We want it to be a level playing field.
You know, it's no doubt that the internet is the superhighway of information, and what we have found is that Google, the giant company Google, is the one that's directing most, if not all, of the traffic on this highway. And it's important that we determine for our states whether this traffic determination is being done in a fair manner. We certainly want to make sure that the internet has competition, and more importantly, we want to make sure that we're preserving innovation, the innovation that many small technical companies have to provide us on a regular basis. So I'm very pleased that we're getting this process started. It's a long way to go, and we want to also emphasize that We want to be fair in this process. Again, it's a preliminary investigation. We'll take a good hard look, and we will hope to work with everybody involved towards a full review of these situations.
As a new mom, when my daughter is sick and I search online for advice or doctors, I want the best advice from the best doctors, not the doctor and not the clinic who can spend the most on advertising. Most Americans think it's free to Google something, but it comes at a cost at the freedom to choose the best products from the best companies. Every second of every day, on every computer screen and every smartphone screen, there is a Super Bowl ad personalized to you, powered by Google. When a company becomes a verb, it may seem as though the states are David taking on Goliath. But I'm proud to stand tall with my fellow attorneys general from across the country as we protect the free market and protect the American consumer.
There's no question that Google is the market dominant player when it comes to internet search, with nearly 90% of a share. And there's nothing wrong with being the dominant player if it's done fairly. That's what our investigation intends to uncover and reveal, whether Google has played by the rules and acted fairly. There's a fine line sometimes between aggressive business practices and illegal ones. Usually the line is very clear. There is a reason why there's so many of us standing here and joined together, and I think that speaks to the pervasiveness, I think it speaks to the seriousness, I think it speaks to the continuity of the complaints and the concerns that have been raised with us by the American people over time.
And while Democrats and Republicans may be from different parties, we all have a common bond, and that is we are charged with the responsibility of protecting the citizens of our state. When there is no longer a free market or competition, this increases prices, even when something is marketed as free, and harms consumers. Is something really free if we are increasingly giving over our privacy information? Is something really free if online ad prices go up based on one company's control?
Google is one of the largest tech companies on the planet. People every day access the internet through Google, and Google controls a lot of that information. And the advertising ecosystem is complex, but it's fair to say that Google controls or is a major player in every aspect of that supply chain. I support innovation, I support free markets, which is why this investigation is so important. That we ensure, that we absolutely ensure that even the biggest of big tech companies are accountable, and even that the biggest of big tech companies are subject to the rule of law.
The business model is based on the accumulation of data, and our questions are, how do they protect that data? They can deny the access to the data to other parties. We wonder if they have acquired companies in their nascent new form to snuff out competition. And we want to be sure that there is competition for the consumer. And that is our interest, is the protection of the consumer.
Let's say we go back before the invention of radio or television, when a single source of content was print media. Newspapers were it. They were the king of information. So would we in this country have allowed one person or one company to own all of the printing ink, the printing presses, and the paper used to print paper, newspapers? And the answer to that is absolutely not. Digital advertising in our virtual marketplace is supposed to enjoy the same free market principles as other commodities. It is supposed to be a supply and demand based. It's the way that the free market is supposed to work. It eliminated the guessing game for advertisers. By going to Google and purchasing advertising on their platform, advertisers are able to strategically target their audiences. Unfortunately, this also means that Google's dominance now allows them to pick winners and losers in this exchange. Continuing down this road will kill online publishing, or Google will stay who stays and who goes.
So I look forward to working with my partners in this case, and I hope that we can do and understand that our mission is to serve the citizens of our state.